Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate given away during the show. That certificate is not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is general trivia. And today we have a special guest. Welcoming back Iraj Zolnasr, who is a real estate broker. Iraj, welcome back.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. Good. Well, last time you did such a good job telling us about the real estate market. We said, we've got to have Iraj back on again. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, let's start off. First of all, general real estate market in the Bay Area. Why don't you give us an overview of what's going on?
Yeah. So I think it's interesting how obviously the interest rates have risen so much so quickly, and it seems as though every month, interest rates are going up by another point, and right now we're sitting at around 8%. That by itself would probably indicate a very slow market as buyers are pulling back. But what we see now is because of the decrease in inventory. Homes that do come in the market, there are buyers that are willing, ready, and able to buy. So I think last time we spoke, I said it's a tale of 2 markets, one really hot, one not so. And it seems like it's about the same. So we have probably about 40% or so of homes that are selling actually over asking with multiple offers.
Still see that.
Which is amazing. But those homes are priced well and are just designed in a way, or they appeal to that sector of the market that really wants, that particular house. The rest of the homes are sitting and are not selling with 40 days, 50 days, 60 days is not so uncommon these days. And and I think the other thing that I can tell people who are listening and watching on your YouTube channel, if you are deciding to sell a house, make sure that the house has no issues. In other words, a few years ago, we wanted to make sure that the house looks good, looks presentable. Everything is painted, the bathrooms are remodeled, the kitchen is remodeled. While those are still important, I think part of it is that structurally, all issues need to be resolved before you put it on the market. I know of several homes that had significant interest originally when they came into the market, but because the reports were not as clean as they should have been, structural issues, perhaps some termite damage, some dry rot, maybe a foundation is a little bit of an issue, buyers just backed out, and the house is now sitting with so many days on the market. Price wasn't an issue initially, but because the buyers have backed out, now the price becomes an issue.
So let me ask you about that. I'm just thinking if it obviously depends on how much, right? Because from the standpoint of like if there's $200,000 worth of termite damage, that's a big deal. But if there's a small amount, is it just that buyers are just looking for absolute plug and play and don't want to have to do any work obviously people are going to have to change drapes and carpets and whatever to
right. I think within that is fine, but if it's anything having to do with, say, who knows, buyers could be finicky at any point in time. But I think any reports that are probably more than 3,000 or are kind of like unknown as far as what the remedies could be, because when you get an inspection report, oftentimes the inspector says, well, it could be between $3,000 to $10,000. Oftentimes you may be able to get it done with 3, but because it has an open-ended price, that becomes an issue.
So going back though, for the buyers, before they would look at those issues and just say, listen, I just want a house and the interest rates are so low and multiple offers, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for the most part, you're absolutely right on.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. We'll continue on with this. First, trivia question. And again, Raj, just to remind you, if you know the answer, don't say anything until we get back from break.
Okay.
What is the only country to have played in every single soccer World Cup? Which country are we talking about? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which, by the way, is worth over $100. Also want to make a mention here for Alcatraz Tours. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Alcatraz, but they have this Alcatraz Tours company that brings people to Alcatraz and get to look at the cells and cruise around the bay. It's a phenomenal way to look at the bay and actually get to Alcatraz. So check them out, alcatraztours.com. All right, that's our trivia question. Again, is what is the only country to have played in every single World Soccer Cup? The Soccer World Cup is what they call it. Okay, 888-912-1190. First caller with correct answer wins the tanning certificate. Stay with us. Best of Investing will be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Iraj Zolnasr. Trivia question number one. What is the only country, which country is the only country to have played in every single Soccer World Cup? Go ahead.
I guess would probably be Germany.
No, actually Brazil.
That was my second guess.
That would be your second guess. Okay, well that also counts.
Yeah.
Want to make a mention here for Palio Restaurant in San Francisco, voted by San Franciscans as the best restaurant. And they're right in the downtown, and right on Sacramento Street. They did a big remodel.
It's a good restaurant.
It's a very good restaurant. Palio Restaurant, Palio Restaurant in San Francisco. Check them out. Okay, Iraj, we were talking about the general real estate market in the Bay Area. Now, we've talked about this before. As interest rates are going up, people such as myself who have refinanced at a really low rate are going to find it very challenging to sell the house and replace it with, there's no way I can get the same interest rate. So I'm guessing that a lot of people are going to go to Home Depot and remodel their houses rather than sell.
Right. I think so too. I think, that may be a few years down the line, but definitely that's the other part of the reason inventory is so low right now, is because nobody is going to sell unless they really have to. And, always life-changing events were, especially in Marin, life-changing events were the ones that really instigated the market and were the ones that pushed the market through. But absolutely, with every one of us at very low interest rates, and I mean, right now we're in 8s, which is incredible. Now, you and I both have a few years behind us, so I'm sure you and I did. First home we bought, they were in the teens, even 12 and 13 back so long ago. And obviously, as they say right now, interest rates are as closer to 2000, 2001 interest rates, which is about the time that I got into the market became a broker in real estate. And, I know back then people were buying and selling it was normal. But the current interest rate, has really, put a stringhold on the market as far as inventory goes. So
and I locked mine in 2021 with a 15-year fully amortized loan. So we were just talking to the kids about this a couple of days ago, and I just said, you know what, I just cannot imagine refinancing again, and I'm just going to bench, but I'm not going to pay it off early. If I not at that rate, I could just stick the money in the bank at 4.5% now.
Absolutely. I mean, 5% even, or a little bit more. And that's a secure loan. And that's the other part of it, is that, the banks, I mean, obviously we're talking a little bit more about finance, but what are the banks going to do with all, they're having these very low interest rate loans and having to perhaps borrow money at even higher. So it's an interesting world right now.
Well, I remember many years ago when after my dad had passed on and interest rates still were going up,
Yeah,
My mom had a quote low interest rate of 6 and 7/8, and
yeah,
it was with Great Western Bank, I remember, and they wrote her a letter and
yeah,
said, hey, if you can pay off your loan early, we'll give you a little discount. And I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, you know what, the rates are no, the rate's too
yeah,
good. There's no reason
yeah,
to pay it off early. I mean,
right,
if they were going to give her a huge discount, yeah, maybe, but
right.
not for what they were offering.
I think that's probably going to happen to us now. The
Yeah,
banks will
I
give
would
us a
think so.
discount just
Yeah.
so they can write off that loan at
Yeah.
3% interest
And
rate.
at some point it's worth it,
Yeah,
right? I mean, if they're gonna knock 100,000 or two, whatever the figure is, you
right.
look at it and say, okay, at some point it's worth it. And in
Yeah,
fact, if they were to take my loan, knock off a couple 100,000 and rewrite it at 7%, it might be worth it.
sure.
But
Absolutely. You would do it. But I think the other part of it is, as you look historically, even going back to year 2000, I had, Barry's runs these statistics. Average home price in year 2000 was 538,000.
uh-huh.
Okay. And an average home price in 2022 was 1,870,000. This is Marin County.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, you have to look at that's 20 years worth, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know I'd have to figure it out on a calculator to say what the annualized rate of return is, but also what was the average income for those people who were buying
Correct.
back then compared to now. So
Correct.
I don't know. Maybe we still look at it and go, oh, it's ridiculously high.
Yeah, correct. I mean, obviously, we're not talking, we can get sophisticated, talk about the inflation adjustments and all
Sure.
of that too.
And we'll get into all that fun stuff. Okay, we're going to go to our second trivia question. It goes fast. All right, here's our second trivia question. What color is a giraffe's tongue?
Ah,
Call
okay.
888-912-1190. The first caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate, which, by the way, is worth over $100. Also want to make a mention here for Mountain Mike's Pizza. Every time I make a mention for Mountain Mike's Pizza, I get hungry for pizza. Check them out in
Yeah,
San
I'm going to go
Rafael.
get some right
You're
now.
gonna get some right now. Well, don't not yet. You got to finish off the show, and then
There
you
you
can
go.
go get some. All right. Yeah, Mountain Mike's Pizza in San Rafael. Pizza the way it ought to be. All right. Here's our trivia question for the tanning certificate again, which is worth over $100. What color is a giraffe's tongue? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins the tanning certificate. Stay with us. Best of Investing. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Iraj Zolnasr, my special guest, who's quite a wealth of knowledge in real estate. But we have to answer a trivia question here. What color is a giraffe's tongue?
Wow. Probably purple,
Yeah, you would think that, right? No, it's black.
black.
Black. Isn't that's kind of crazy.
Wow.
Also,
Goes
want to
with the
make
tanning.
say again.
Goes with people who want tanning.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay, make a mention here also for the Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge. They have a couple of 100 feet worth of beachfront property. It's an absolutely beautiful property. I've had a couple of people tell me that they just love it. Tahoe Lakeshore Lodge in Lake Tahoe. Check them out. Okay, Iraj, we're talking some real estate here. So the effects of higher interest rate on mortgages and buyers.
Yeah,
At some point the interest rates go up so much that people's income can't go up high enough to afford the expensive house. So
correct.
what are you seeing in that realm?
What, interestingly enough, and honestly, I don't know how, but there's a lot of people who are buying homes with cash. So, all cash deals are back again. And where they're getting all this money, obviously, when I'm probably, cashing the stock market, cashing out of the stock market, or however it is. But there is a big percentage that are buying homes with cash. The other part of it is what is back in vogue again is people who are buying down their interest rate. In other words, prepaying $20,000, $25,000, either as a concession from the seller who's had the home sit in the market for a while,
Yeah.
or they just pay it out of pocket somehow. the interest rate drops by 3/4 or 1%, which makes them qualify for the loan better. And some of them are step down
Oh, yeah.
benefits. In other words, the first year may drop down by a full point, the second year goes up by half a point. And the hope is that by the year 3, interest rates have adjusted in a way, or the buyers have their incomes has gone up in a way that they can then refinance into a better loan. So that's what the other thing is that we're seeing.
Totally makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
What do you think is the long range outlook for home buyers?
As both of us know, long range, especially in California, especially in the Bay Area, especially in Marin, where inventory continues to be, low, not much new construction happening. Everything is very strict, and people love to be here, luckily, like we. Overall, the prices will go higher. So if you can get a good price, buy the house, and at a price that you can afford, that's not putting pressure on you, buy the house. You will grow into it. I know we have all been in a situation where initially it's unusual. You have to make this large monthly payment, but after a year or two, it's like no big deal, and you're ready for the next one. So
let me ask you, there's been, talk about an exodus of people from California to other states because crime, politics and all that.
Right.
Has that not been a factor?
We saw that really about 2-3 years ago, right at the middle of COVID, basically,
Okay.
where people were selling their homes here, multiple offers, significantly higher than probably it was worth at that point in time. And then because these were the people in the city, San Francisco, who were moving up to the suburbs, and wanted a bigger home. And then those people in the suburbs sold their homes and moved to Utah, Texas,
Well, especially
Colorado.
at the time when you could remote work.
Totally.
Yeah, but aren't a lot of companies though starting to ask their employees to come back?
Most high-tech companies, and Chase is asking all their employees to come back. Facebook is, Tesla is, X/Twitter is. My daughter is now working with a company that they want them back. So yeah, remote work is not as readily available as it used to be. I think a hybrid is probably.
A lot of people are complaining about it though, because they got so used to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think a hybrid will probably, fall into place.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you can keep your commute costs down, you don't have to spend a lot of extra money on wasted stuff, and it can keep the congestion off the freeways. And I mean, if you can be efficient working at home, but I think a lot of these employers are having a hard time figuring out how efficient someone really is.
Right. And also it depends on what work you're doing. If your work is task oriented and you need to finish something from A to B, you may be able to do it at home. But if you need to be in a situation where you're brainstorming ideas, it's much better to be in a all together rather than everybody on Zoom.
Or construction. It's hard to do construction remotely.
Exactly. That's a very good point. Very good point. I'll be using that.
All right. Let's see here. We're going to go to another break pretty soon here. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the new twists on home financing, and the increase in home insurance rates. That's a big thing. Possible recession this year, or early next year, and then maybe talk a little bit about home appreciation also in the last year. Okay. All right. You ready for our next trivia question? All right. How many bones do sharks have? How many bones do sharks have? Call 888-912-1190. First caller with the correct answer wins that tanning certificate. Again, that certificate's worth about $100, maybe a little more. Want to make a mention here also for the Elk Cove Inn in Mendocino. You got to check them out. If you hadn't heard of them before, Mendocino, it's a beautiful coastline.
Gorgeous.
A lot of these rooms are just like right on the water.
Wow.
Beautiful view. It's called the Elk Cove Inn. Absolutely gorgeous property. All right. Yeah, stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Edward Brown here, along with Iraj Zolnasr, my special guest who knows a lot about real estate. But let's see how much he knows about sharks. So,
Zero about sharks.
okay, how many bones do sharks have?
I don't think there are that many. So I would guess maybe 50.
Okay, so what when I said how much do you know about sharks? What did you say?
Not much.
What did you actually say?
Not. What do you mean? Nothing?
Yeah, no. When I said, okay, we're going to see how much Raj knows about sharks, you said, I know zero about sharks. Okay, now we're going to ask the question. How many bones do sharks have?
Zero.
Zero. That is correct.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's cartilage.
Oh,
Yeah, everything they have is all cartilage. Yeah.
Wow. So I did know the answer.
That's right. We're going to give you credit for that one. Okay. Now, the question comes up about a new twist in home financing. Is that the buying down that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so we did cover that.
We touched on that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the bite.
Now, what about home insurance rates? It's crazy out there.
It is crazy right now. It really is. I mean, one thing, it's a sleeper. Most people, insurance is the last thing they think about when they're buying a home.
Yeah.
Or even when they have a home. It's just something that they pay and they really don't pay a whole lot of attention to it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, with what's going on with the state, the restrictions, the insurance companies moving out of state, State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, all putting caps on the number of policies they're writing, or they're just simply not writing anymore. That is really putting a big strain on policy holders and on writing insurance.
But they are grandfathering people in, right? Because I mean, like I have State Farm, and I've been with them for 37 years, and they haven't canceled me. So
right, no, they usually will not cancel you, especially homes that are in a situation where they're in a nice area, they're not necessarily in a fire danger area, they will not cancel you. But they're looking, or they're itching to cancel people. And replacement coverage becomes harder, because now you have to go and get either from a California Fair Plan, or the underwriting takes such a long time. So versus before, you used to call your agent and they would say, what's your address? 123 street. And they would, within a day, 24 hours, have coverage for you. Now, no.
So what happens with using, because you can't, like, every mortgage company is every bank, whatever, is gonna require insurance. So you have to have it, basically.
You have to have it.
So what, unless you buy the property for cash and decide not to do it, but for the most part, you have to have insurance. There's a California.
There's a California Fair Plan, which is a state mandated, state-backed insurance. Backed by the state of California, but like anything having to do with the government, it takes time. Underwriting is, time consuming. Yeah. They want photos of every angle of the house, front, back, rear, whatever.
Wow.
It could take up to 3 weeks to get a quotation from them. Yeah, and they only cover the structure, no liability. And the valuations are not as generous, if you will, as probably a normal average carrier like State Farm or Farmers.
And how expensive are they compared to the regular insurance companies?
They are more expensive, but probably, depending on the situation, maybe about 30% more than a normal.
Oh, that's a lot, actually.
It's a lot.
So in other words, you pay more and you get less.
And
but the good news is it takes longer.
It takes longer. Exactly.
You got to think that there's going to be, that the pendulum, if it swings too much, other insurance companies are going to come back in.
They would. And so you or the listeners may or may not know, what happens is every insurance company files their rate with the insurance commissioner at the beginning of every year. So, and they have to be within that rate structure. But when a disaster happens, the insurance companies have gone back to the commissioner saying, hey, what we're charging is not sufficient for the risk we're taking. We need to increase our rate. the commissioner was not budging. They were not allowing the insurance company to raise their rates.
Okay.
So they said, if you don't let us raise our rates, we just have to stop selling.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, the commissioner, the governor, they got together. They're coming out with different, allowing perhaps insurance companies to maybe adjust their rates nominally or in a way that they can.
Well, why don't they just have if they're going to be that much of a stickler, maybe they could have like a reinsurance plan with the state. So that that way the state can maybe
Right.
cover after a certain amount.
Right.
Something
Right.
hybrid might work.
I love your idea, but maybe that's like a legislative issue that the legislation has to.
But they're willing to write now, even,
Yeah.
take 3 weeks and all that stuff. But
yeah, no,
something
totally.
like that would probably work, because as long as like, let's say the insurance company covers the first $1 million of
Right.
account, or the first 80% of something,
Right.
then they know what their cap is, so
Right.
they could appropriately do. I think something like that would really actually work.
Yeah.
And since we're recording this radio show, it's on the record. It's my idea.
That's right.
I get credit for it.
Okay. You do. You win a prize.
I win a prize. Yes, I win the
prize.
tanning certificate, which is worth over $100. All right. Okay, so stay with us, Iraj. We come back, we're going to have some closing comments, and then also I do want to ask you about a possible recession. All right. And before we go, though, how do people get a hold of you if they have questions on real estate?
Oh, definitely. So my telephone number, direct line, is 415-271-1342. 415-271-1342. Iraj is IRAJ. So call me. I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Very good. Thanks, Iraj. Stay with us. Best of Investing. We'll be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my special guest, Iraj Zolnasr, who is a real estate broker. So, Iraj, possible recession later this year or early next year. What does your magic crystal ball say?
Yeah, I think, the Fed, with their continuously increasing interest rates, they're trying to, thread that needle of a, recession versus a, hard landing versus a soft landing. I think the odds of a recession are becoming stronger and stronger as we approach year end, with obviously the world happenings that are going on and the interest rates increasing, and but we keep getting mixed signals. I think today or yesterday the report said that the U.S. economy was stronger than they had expected.
Yeah,
which is interesting. With all this increased interest rate, the economy is still humming along. So, which we both know it's going to put more pressure on the Fed to keep raising, which is not what we all want. But I don't know. But the chances are becoming more and more that we will suffer some sort of a setback, either later this year or early next year, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. At some point, they can't really raise interest rates too much more, or else they're going to really cause a bad recession.
Yeah, you really can. But it just depends. And I mean, I think obviously, we've talked about this. The Fed is always behind somewhat. The effect of interest rate increases take time to work itself through the market. But right now, as I just heard that I think Ford settled their dispute with the auto workers. But on another front, I was hearing, like, some cars, there's a 300-day supply of a Jeep, as an example. So, used car or new cars are not selling as much because people can't afford it anymore, so
especially
it's gonna, those things. I mean, can you imagine you just build a 2022 or 2023, Jeep, and it's the end of 2024 and it still hasn't sold?
They have to discount that thing. Yeah, that's gonna be a major issue for the auto companies.
Yeah,
it
really is.
That's challenging. Sure.
The stuff that's happening around the world, will that affect the oil prices? That's going to happen the gas prices. So globally, everything is right now in a weird place.
Yeah.
At least something that we have not experienced in the recent past, anyway.
No, we all kind of like what happened the last few years before the current
Yeah,
administration. Everything was,
yeah,
let's see, no major wars, gas prices
yeah,
low, inflation
love,
low,
exactly.
crime, yeah, low,
Yeah,
border crossings, not so much. Okay.
yeah,
That's the other thing is, and I've mentioned this before, is that, no matter what your stance is on the immigration policy, the fact that
right,
we have 8 million new people in the United States who probably are going to be sticking around,
right.
they got to live somewhere.
Yes.
And so maybe they'll live at the bottom part of the economic scale for a while, but then that'll kind of start pushing everything upwards, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it's a debate that we can all have, but
Yeah,
part of it is that those people, those 8 million people are going to take the low wage jobs.
exactly. Yeah,
And
but
just,
everybody needs a place to live though. So
yes,
anyway, hey, Raj, you ready for our thoughts for the day? Here we
yes,
go.
please. I am
Okay,
ready.
you're ready. Okay, so somebody actually complimented me on my driving today. They left a
Wow.
little note on my windshield that said parking fine.
Wow.
I thought that was so nice of them.
I've experienced that as well.
You have to.
I have
Okay.
recently too.
And you'll probably experience this one too. And behind every angry woman is a man who has absolutely no idea what he did wrong.
I've experienced that as
You
well.
experience that too. We have a lot in common there, my
Yes,
friend.
yes, 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 yes.
All right. Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia
Wonderful.
questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of
Thank
our
you.
team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of
Thank
investing.
you.
So long.
Thank you. So long.